Welcome, everybody, to today's Building My Legacy podcast. I have with me today Tim Fitzpatrick. He has a fascinating company called Rialto Marketing, and he really does mean Rialto, the Rialto Bridge in Florence. Beautiful, beautiful. It is on his homepage. And so let's start with that. How did you get into marketing? Why the Rialto Bridge? And what does it symbolize for you?
Absolutely. So thanks for having me, Lois. I'm happy to be here. So how did I get into marketing? I'll give you the Cliff Note version of my entrepreneurial journey. Like most, it was not a straight path. It was winding. But the first company that I got involved in was right out of college. It was a wholesale distribution company. And I was a partner in that company. We grew that company for about 60% a year for 9 years, and then we sold it. And after we sold it, I worked for that company for another 3 years. And then I actually got laid off by the company that bought us. So funny how those
Not
things
too
happen
uncommon
sometimes.
story, actually.
Yes. So after that, I was like, gosh, I was fortunate to be in a position where I wasn't worried about how I was going to pay my mortgage next month, but I took some time off, figured out what I wanted to do, and I decided to get into residential real estate. And this was late 2009, early 2010. So most people are like, oh my God, what were you thinking, Tim? The market was horrible, but I've always been the type of person that thinks there's opportunity in any market, no matter what's going on. And so at that point in time, I started knocking on doors for people that were close to foreclosure. And so I started to do a lot of short sale business where we were working with the banks to get approval to sell the house for less than it was worth. I was helping people out of those situations. But after being in it and doing it for 2.5, 3 years, I was not enjoying it. I had what some people call the Sunday night effect every day. So, Sunday night, you're thinking about, oh my God, I've got to go to work tomorrow and do that all over again. You get the pit in your stomach. I had that like every day. And I just said, I gotta shift gears. There's no point in having my own business if I don't enjoy it. And so that's when I started looking at what I loved about being in distribution and where my skill sets were. And that's when I got involved in marketing. And at the time, we were really focused on mobile applications into the K-12 education space. And 3 years into that, there was some changes with publishing guidelines that really got me thinking, man, my business is very vulnerable to the policies of Apple and Google. That is not a place I want to be. And so I shifted gears again, and that's into what we're doing now, which is much more comprehensive marketing, consulting, done for you services, and then coaching for primarily service businesses. So we work with a lot of coaches, consultants, and professional service providers. So that's the roundabout way. Now, you also asked me about Rialto Marketing. So how did I come up with the name? One, it was where my wife and I went on our honeymoon. So close to my heart there. But then I also have always thought about bridges being a tool that helps people get from where they currently are to where they want to be. And that's exactly what marketing does. It helps people grow their business to get from where they currently are to where they want to be. And it's so critical because you can have the best product or service in the world, but if you don't have marketing, bringing in leads, new customers, none of that stuff matters.
Isn't that the truth? You don't even have a plate to put the food on if you don't have customers. So
No, you don't.
you're pretty desperate. So you talk about the fundamentals of marketing. Talk a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. The way I look at the marketing fundamentals, I call them the marketing strategy trilogy. The first part of that is your target market. You have to understand who you're going to serve and how you're going to serve those people. And you need to know who your 1 to 3 ideal client types are going to be. That's where everything starts from a marketing perspective. And then from there, the second thing is you have to have clear, engaging messaging to that target market. And the third part is you got to have a plan. You have to have some type of plan in place. Otherwise, you're throwing spaghetti up against a wall, hoping it sticks. And your marketing is just going to be a crapshoot without that. So those are the 3 fundamentals that I see being the foundation for the rest of your marketing house. If you skip them, you're building a house without a foundation, and you're going to waste time, you're going to waste money, and you're going to have to come back to them at some point. So you might as well get them right in the beginning and then build from there. The biggest challenge I see is most business owners, they're just battling information overload when it comes to marketing. There's tons of marketers, there's tons of channels now, there's all kinds of tactics. Each week, our inboxes are being bombarded with people saying, oh, you need to do this. You need to be on TikTok, or you need to be on Clubhouse, or you need to have a YouTube channel, whatever it may be. And it's just overwhelming. And when they're overwhelmed, they don't know where to start. So coming back to the fundamentals is the best place to start, because they're not hard.
Okay, so let's start with the first step, which
Yep.
is knowing your target market, right?
Yes.
And I think that's one that so many people have a hard time with, because the temptation always is to fish the whole ocean. So you have to
Yeah, you can't, if you're going to speak to no one if you're trying to reach everyone. So it's too hard. It's too broad if you're trying to market to everybody. Amazon can market to everybody. Okay. They've got deep pockets. They sell everything. But if you think about Amazon, how did they start? They didn't start selling everything. They were selling books online. They nailed that. Once they nailed that, then they started to expand into what you see today. But most people totally forget that. They started with a very niche market. And we need to do the same with our marketing for a number of different reasons. But the first off is, if you don't know who you're trying to reach, you can't even figure out where the heck you need to be to get in front of those people. So most businesses have 1 to 3 ideal client types. I don't recommend you have more than that, because then your marketing efforts can get diluted and you can lose focus. But you have to find those 1 to 3 ideal client types. And the best place to start for an existing business is to ask yourself 3 questions. So if you have existing clients or past clients, ask yourself these 3 questions. The first one is, who do you enjoy working with? What the heck is the point in banging your head against a wall every day working with people that you don't like?
Right.
Okay. Second, who are your most profitable clients? If we're going to stay in business, we have to work with people that are profitable. And the third question is, who do you do your best work for? If we can work with our clients that we do our best work for, what's going to happen? They're going to be happy because they love the results. They're going to want to continue to do business with you or do more business with you. And they're going to want to refer you. So when you ask yourself those 3 questions and you look at the group that you answered positively for all 3 questions, so everybody in that group you love working for, they're profitable, and you do great work for, that's where you start to find your ideal client types. So you take that group and then you can start to dig into, what are the demographics of the people in this group? So it depends on the business, whether it's B2B or B2C, but it could be age range. It could be location. Do they live in houses, 500 to 1,000 to 1 million? It could be, are they in specific industries? Do they have specific job titles? All those things are demographics. You also want to look at the psychographics, which is what's in their head. How are they, what are the problems they have? What are their feelings? What results are they looking for? All those things are really, really important. So if you can look at that group, start to look at the demographics and the psychographics, inevitably what happens is 1 to 3 groups start to come to the surface. Those are your ideal clients. Now you know exactly who you want to get in front of. And the next step is to then look at each of those ideal client types and start to identify, just create a list, just brainstorm. Where are they? What groups do they belong to? What associations are they part of? Do they belong to, specific networking groups? What influencers do they follow? What websites do they love? What blogs do they read? Are they subscribed to certain email lists? All of those things are places, once you identify them, where you need to be or can be to get your message in front of the people that you want to attract. That's where you got to start, because everything from a marketing perspective starts with your target market.
So what you're saying is when you're narrow, focus, match your likes and dislikes with the audience you're going after, the odds of your success improves.
Absolutely. And you know where you need to be. Most businesses struggle with, when they're struggling with marketing, they're not getting their message in front of the right people because they don't really know who they're trying to reach. You first have to know exactly who you want to reach. And those are your ideal clients. And a lot of people say one of the biggest, roadblocks that I hear people say is, well, gosh, if I niche down, I'm going to lose business.
Right.
And honestly, the exact opposite ends up happening, because you know exactly who you need to reach. And when you get the right message in front of those people, you end up attracting more of them. But the other thing is, I'm not saying you can only do business with those 1 to 3 ideal client types. All I'm saying is those are the only people you're going to direct your marketing efforts towards. You're still going to get people who are going to come to you and say, hey, can you help me? And then guess what? You can make the choice. Can I help these people? Are they a good fit for me? And if they are, then cool, you do business with them. But you can make that choice. But you have to be focused and know who you're trying to attract in order for your marketing to be effective. And if you're trying to reach too many people, it's just not going to work.
Got it. Okay. So step 2.
Step 2 is our messaging. So now we know who we're trying to attract. Now we need to create clear, engaging messaging to put in front of those people. And we use a storytelling framework for that. I did not invent this. It was popularized by a company called StoryBrand by Donald Miller. And it's a typical take on the hero's journey. So if we think about most stories, okay, there's a hero or a main character in that story. They have a problem. They meet a guide. That guide gives them a plan that calls them to action, so they avoid failure and they reach success. So let's look at an example. One of my favorite movies is the original Point Break. Okay, so don't fault me, Lois. You've got Keanu Reeves. He is a green FBI agent, and the problem is there's a band of bank robbers in Southern California called the Ex-Presidents, and they're out hitting banks. His partner is the guide, Gary Busey. He's seasoned. He's been there, done that. He's seen everything. Well, his plan is, I believe the ex-presidents are surfers, and I want you to learn how to surf so that you can meet these people. So the call to action is you need to learn how to surf so that hopefully you meet these people. We avoid failure. They ride off into the sunset, and we reach success, which is we catch them. So what we're doing when we use this framework is we're inviting our customers into a story where they are the main character and our company is the guide. Why? If you think about most main characters, they're actually pretty weak. They're struggling. They have a problem and they have no idea how the heck to solve it. If that weren't the case, we wouldn't have a story and nobody'd be interested, right? The guide, we want to position ourselves as the guide because guides have credibility, they have authority, they're trusted, and they show empathy, right? The guide knows exactly what it's like to be the hero because he or she was in those shoes before. They solved that problem and they know exactly the steps you need to take to get across the river to the other side. That's why we want to position you as the guide. A lot of businesses talk too much about themselves and then they position themselves as the hero. Our customers aren't looking for a hero. And frankly, our customers don't care about us, unfortunately, right? As much as we would love them to care about us, they don't. They care about what we can do for them. How can we help them solve that problem they have so that they can get from where they are to where they want to be? That's it. And so when you use this framework, you're not reinventing the wheel every time. If I need to create an email or create an ad, I'm not recreating my marketing message. I'm going back to the framework and I'm just pulling bits and pieces to create the message that I want to that's appropriate for that particular advertisement or that social post. Our messaging has to be clear and it has to be consistent. And when you use a storytelling framework, it enables you to do that. Because it's so easy for marketers to try and get cute and clever with their messaging. But if we get cute and clever, we fall flat most of the time because it doesn't make sense to people. And because of the ease of access to information, we're super impatient at this point. I mean, if I have a question, I can pretty much find it within less than 30 seconds on Google in most cases, right? So if I land on the homepage of your website and I see this message at the top and I have no idea what the hell you mean, am I going to stay there and take the time to figure it out? I'm not. I'm going to go back to the search results and go look at your competitor. So we've got to be clear. We've got to be consistent. And using a storytelling framework allows you to do that.
Got it. Okay. So from there, you go to plan.
Yes. You got to have a plan. So you know who you're trying to reach. Yes, you know what you're going to say to them. Now you have to have a plan of how am I going to put that message in front of those people? And we use a 90-day marketing plan. Simple. There's 6 steps. Okay. If a year ago at this time, I had spent a bunch of time, bunch of money creating some 15, 20 page year-long marketing plan, mid-March, I would have burned it. Okay. At least most of us would have, because the pandemic hit and things just completely shifted. Not only that, they're complex. And when things are complex, it adds stress and it becomes harder to implement, becomes harder to troubleshoot. Most of us are not going to implement something like that. With a 90-day marketing plan, it's long enough to see results, but it's short enough where you can look at it, make course corrections, and then keep moving on. And it's simple. So here's the 6 steps, okay? First is your target market. Okay, so again, at the very least, you need to have a paragraph of who your 1 to 3 ideal clients are. So if you have one ideal client type, I want you to put together a paragraph, 4 to 8 sentences of who the heck that person is. When you see this on your plan, it's just a reminder of who the heck we're trying to reach. Keeps them top of mind because everything is about them. 2 is, what's our marketing goal? It needs to be specific, measurable, and it's going to be time bound because this is a 90-day plan. So for example, I intend to bring on 5 new clients in the next 90 days. Now, I always like to point out to people, a goal like that is an outcome-based goal. With an outcome-based goal, there are a lot of things beyond your control. So I think you need to have an idea of where you're headed, but I tell people, don't get too caught up in it. I think you need to focus on what you can do to help yourself get to that goal. Once I know what my goal is, now I need to start looking at what's my budget and what are my resources. When I talk about resources, I mean time and or knowledge or capability. So do I have people on staff that can help me implement my plan? Can I help implement the plan? Do I have $250 a month or do I have $5,000 a month to invest in my marketing? Those will determine how much you can choose to take on in your marketing plan. If it's just me, well, I may not be able to create a podcast and handle all my social media and manage my website, right? That's too much for one person to handle in most cases. So that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I have to know what I have to work with. That's what we're identifying in this 3rd step. In the 4th step, we're looking at what our current marketing plan is. And when I say that, Lois, I understand there's a lot of people that may not have a current plan. That's okay. All we're doing here is just taking note of where we're starting from. We're getting a baseline. My GPS can't tell me how to get to the airport until I tell it where I'm starting from. It's the exact same thing here. You can't figure out what you need to do with your marketing next until you understand where you're currently at. So when I look at outlining my current marketing plan, we look at 8 main marketing channels. The first one is the strategy, those fundamentals, your target market and your messaging. 2 is your website. 3 is content. So blog posts, podcasts, videos, those types of things. Search engine optimization, which is helping me get found in search results. Social media, email marketing, paid advertising, so Google ads, Facebook ads, those types of things, and then offline marketing. Offline marketing, networking. You might be speaking. We're not doing a whole lot of speaking in person at this point, but hopefully at some point here in the near future, we can, right? Doing speaking, going to networking groups, those types of things, direct mail. Those are all examples of offline marketing. In this 4th step, I just want you to write down what you've done or what you continue to do in each of those channels. And if you're not doing anything in those, that's okay. Just write that down. Now I know where I'm starting from. In the 5th step, that's when we're looking at what I'm going to focus on in the next 90 days. And all we're going to do here is write down what we're going to focus on in the next 90 days in each of those 8 channels. I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have a handle on your target market and good messaging, you have to start there. Then from there, you can start to branch out. Your website's the next logical step because everything you do from a marketing standpoint drives people back to your website. And then you can start branching out. A lot of people say to me, Lois, well, that's great. How do I know what to focus on? We use a tool called the Evolution Index Checklist. And by the way, I'll give all these resources I'm talking about are on a link that I will give and share to your listeners, okay? So they can go and get all this stuff for free, okay? But the Evolution Index Checklist is just a framework of, hey, I'm in phase 1 for my website. What do I need to do? What elements do I need to have in place? Cool, I've got those done. I'm in phase 2 on my website. Now what do I need to consider? So it gives them a framework that they can look at to see what they've done and then what they still could potentially choose to do. That's a tool that'll help you identify what you're going to focus on in the next 90 days. And then the last step, the 6th step, is what metrics am I going to track? The metrics will help you determine whether the actions you're taking are making an impact. I was a math major. I can dig into the weeds on the analytics. There are tons of vanity metrics when it comes to marketing. Your social media followers, how many people are on your email list? That stuff doesn't really matter to me unless it's generating leads that are going to customers. So I always recommend people start small. Focus on, are the actions that I'm taking generating more traffic back to my website? How many leads am I generating? And how many of those leads are we converting to customers? When whatever, it takes 3 leads for me to get 1 customer, that's really empowering because now you know how many leads you need to generate to reach your goal. Don't worry about all the other numbers. If you want to get into the metrics more as you get better and more advanced, you can do that, but start small and focus on the most important metrics. And then at the end of 90 days, you look at what worked, you make course corrections, update your plan, and then you just wash, rinse, and repeat over and over again. That's it. Okay. Was that simple enough?
It sounds simple. So why do so many people fail?
Because 1, they either don't have a plan. 2, they overcomplicate the plan. And when we overcomplicate things, we just end up not doing it. Right? And those are the 2 biggest reasons, which is the whole premise behind why we started using a 90-day marketing plan. I mean, the marketing plan I just walked you through is the same plan we use for our business. It's the same one we use for clients when we put plans together for them, because it's simple. We're not overcomplicating it. And you know what? Some of your listeners, look, try this. Okay. If it doesn't work for you, then you can make tweaks. What works for us, you may need to make a few little tweaks here and there, but start with a base that's simple and then tweak it and adjust it to meet your needs. But you got to start somewhere. And if you don't, Benjamin Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. I agree with them. If you don't have a plan in place, it's too easy to get distracted, and it's too easy just to not do anything. You're not going to get any traction. You have to have some type of plan to start with.
So, Tim, one of the issues I think that we deal with right now is how do you choose a marketing company to get help from? Because there's so many people out there doing things, and some are good and some are not so good. So
Yep.
what kind of criteria do you have in your mind, or should people have in their mind? What do you wish people were looking for when they search you out?
I think you need to find somebody that's a good fit for you. Not, look, we work with all kinds of service-based businesses, but we're not a good fit for everybody. Our philosophy of focusing on the fundamentals first, some people that doesn't resonate with, and that's okay. We're not all things to all people. So you have to find somebody that you like, that really resonates with you, I think, first and foremost, because you're going to be doing a lot of work with them. And frankly, they're doing very important work for your business. So you've got to like them first and foremost. But then second, interview them. A lot of marketing companies offer consultations, free consults. Take advantage of those, chat with them and get a feel for what they're like. You need to be careful because there are some marketing companies that require long-term commitments. And, if you're working with somebody like that and you get into it and you're not happy, you may be stuck, and that is not a good place to be. So you really need to make sure you're doing that due diligence up front to make sure that you're making a good choice. Do they have case studies? Do they have testimonials? Can you talk to existing customers? Those are all good things to do to help you get comfortable with it. The other thing I would recommend people do is, how are they marketing their own business?
Mm.
Are they walking the talk, or are they not? There's a lot of marketing companies out there. They may do great work, but they do lousy job marketing their own company. And if they can't market their own company, how can you expect them to do a great job for you? So for me, that's another thing that I would look at is, what are they doing? Because if they're doing those things and they're working for their business, then they're going to know what needs to be done so that it works for your company as well.
Got it.
So does that help?
It's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And our time is almost up, Tim. So I want to ask, what have we left out that people should know about?
So say that one more time.
What have we left out? What have we not talked about that you think is really important for people to think about when they're thinking about their marketing?
Outside of the fundamentals, which I think if you skip the fundamentals, you're making a huge mistake. So if they take away anything, I think it's that. But two, I would just say, being a business owner, I don't care if it's your marketing or anything else, can be so overwhelming because we feel like there's so many different things we have to do. I think if you always keep at top of mind that you need to focus on the next measurable step, it will eliminate that overwhelm and it will get you focused on the next thing you need to do to help you get to where you want to be long term. So just focus on the next measurable step. Once you take that, then what's the next measurable step after that? Breaking things down into the smaller steps that are going to help get to the end goal makes it so much easier to manage, and it's just so much less stressful. So I would say I'd leave it with that.
Okay. You know what? I love the perspective. Stick with the fundamentals and have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're not going to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
And then really look at the marketing companies you're going to work with for fit, and what's their experience, with whom have they worked in the past.
Yep.
So, Tim, thank you so much for being with us today on Building My Legacy podcast. And there will be information about Tim in the show notes. And some of the things that he talked about with his checklist will be there as well for you to click on and to be able to have access to it. So again, thank you for being with us. And please remember to visit our website at buildtomorrow.com and our social media sites as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell button above. Leave comments. We'd love to hear what you think. And visit our other social media links as well. Thanks much.